What's up, everyone? It's Mike Bendy from Fodera Guitars. I'm here with one of my heroes, Mr. Lincoln Goines, the master, the guru, the one and only. How you doing today, Lincoln?
I'm doing great.
Thanks for coming out.
It's great to be back.
Yes.
To do this. It's great to be here with you. I remember when we first met, it was like 2001, 2002.
That's right.
To my place for lessons.
Yeah.
And look what's happening today. I've created a monster.
I know. I've only taken 2 bass lessons in my life. One from Matt Garrison, one from Lincoln Goines. That was enough.
It was more like him giving me a lesson. He didn't know it at the time, but
I was messing up 2s and 4s back then, but we're good. We're good now. I figured it out since then.
We've come a long way.
Yes. So we'll start off with a little background. Okay. How did you meet Joey and Vinny? How did you get the wonderful Imperial, my favorite model?
Well, you know, I came here. I had an ESP bass that I ended up selling to Hochi in Japan. I probably regret doing that, but it was a beautiful 5-string that they built for me that I ended up turning over. And I wasn't really looking for other things. I came to Joey and Vinny because I thought that maybe they could turn it over for me. And then I ended up looking at basses, and then Vinny took me in the back room and we started looking at wood.
Oh.
And several hours went by and I ended up going, wow, this is, and then I saw the Imperial shape and I saw the woods that they chose. And I was intrigued by the single pickup concept.
Yes.
From Anthony, and also the extended range thing from Steve Swallow.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I ended up telling him that I wanted a bass, and that was the beginning of a relationship. Plus, we ended up becoming friends like almost immediately.
Right. And there's also a few firsts from your builds. Your first build is 34-inch scale, but the first ash neck.
The first ash neck, and I brought them in also my fretless bass, which had an oak neck on it, and I showed it to Vinny, and I said, Vinny, can you do something like this? And he said, yeah, oak is not really a good wood for building because of the knots and stuff.
Right.
For building a neck. Let's try ash. I've always wanted to try ash. I said, okay, cool. Go with it. And the single pickup concept, we voiced the pickup. We actually put it up on blocks and moved it around to get the best B string sound. And then he routed the cavity.
Yeah, it's a super unique sound.
Right.
It's super fat, but it still has some of that bridge pickup bite. It's
got a lot of wood to it. Now, I don't really consider myself a technical player in terms of, what pickup sounds good, but I know it feels good. And I know what sounds good, and that's why I went for it with Joey and Vinny. That's why I went for it, because it felt good and it sounded good, and it had a lot. The basses had a lot of wood in it, and they were so in tune.
Absolutely, and you have the internal preamp like I have in my bass.
Yeah, just like a push pull. And I'm trying to recall exactly what we were talking about with the 33-inch scale. Just a little bit of a shorter scale.
Oh, yeah, that's another first. First 33-inch scale.
First 33-inch scale.
And first red oak neck. We finally did it.
Right, exactly. And, sort of a very specific tuning, with the B string extended. I think this is the only bass that goes like that. There's 2 reverse winds on it.
Yes.
I think Joey and Vinny improved that after this.
So with the first extended B?
Prototype.
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
First extended B.
So there's 3 firsts.
3 firsts.
From my man.
That's right.
Mr. Goines.
It's kind of like the first man landing on the moon or something, I feel like.
Absolutely. So what brings you in today? I know we worked on something super special last year.
Yeah. So I am here to promote, in partnership with Fodera Guitars, my new record that's coming out. It's called The Art of the Bass Choir. Ooh. And here's 3 panels here. You can see me. It's got a lot of my contemporaries playing bass with me, including Shredmaster Bendy here, who plays on the Jocko tribute piece, Liberty City, that I did an arrangement of with Klaus Mueller, my primary collaborator for the arrangements. It has a cover of me on the front, Leonardo, the bass player.
I love it. I don't see no cheeks, though.
Yeah, well, Mika took the picture. My wife took the picture, and then John Bishop at Origin Records very tastefully covered the cracks with letters, and I think it turned out pretty well.
Absolutely. Mr. Chris Gisi listened to this, and he said it is the best bass record that he's heard.
Well, I'm honored to hear that. I'm actually going to be doing an interview for him and Bass Player Online coming up soon, and we're going to talk about all this stuff. There's 16 tracks on this record. There was a point where I was thinking about making it into a 2-record project, but I figured I would put all the things that I had selected. And let me go back now to an earlier point in my life when I was a younger, more developing player. Late 70s, early 80s, I remember hearing the New York Bass Violin Choir, which was led by Bill Lee. Now, Bill Lee is Spike Lee's dad. He's a bass player.
All right.
A lot of people don't know this, but
it all makes sense now.
It was an arco jazz sort of very soulful sort of thing. He had Ron Carter playing bass, Sam Jones, Milt Hinton, Richard Davis. They all played, and it was such a beautiful sound, and it was so inspiring for me to hear that. I don't know exactly the time I'm talking about, like maybe late 70s, early 80s.
Gotcha.
And it was perfectly imperfect, and it was free of the temperament of the keyboard, this open, soulful sound. That was one big influence, and that sort of sparked the inspiration for me to sort of try to do a project like this, a bass choir project.
Right.
At some point. I was talking about the Victor Wooten track, which is the second track on the record, Spank a Lee, right? And I had put some solo vocabulary in the front section. I played the melody, da 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 da, with the layers and stuff like that, and then I left a section for him to fill in.
Yeah.
Some book, and then at the end he was going to fill in again on the ride out where it goes to a different section.
You're in the same room.
It makes it sound like one part. I played and then he played. I left some space for him to play, and he sort of played in his spaces, and he took the solo, platform, and then in the spaces where I had put solo vocabulary, he undercurrented it with all this stuff high and low, and it's like he made it his own piece. He spent weeks on it. I thought it was going to be a quick turnaround. He was going to spend a weekend and do something. 2 weeks later, he comes back with this. Mm-hmm. I love the guy, man. He sent me back 8 tracks, 8 tracks, and it sounded like a symphony, and it was amazing. I mean, it became another animal, and I told him that. I said, wow, man, Victor, you sound great. It sounds so perfect. He says, well, when you got Pro Tools, you can punch like Muhammad Ali. On this record, I had the privilege of having some of my favorite drummers. Dennis Chambers, right, who I worked a lot with, too, with Mike Stern.
That's right.
Right?
Check those videos out all the time on YouTube.
Wow.
Because they're animals.
Wow, and it was awesome what he did. I sent him the tracks, and he sent back stuff. He says, how's that sound? I say, what am I going to say to Dennis Chambers over the phone? But that being said, he gave me, he said, oh, okay, I'm going to try something else now. And he was in the studio with his engineer, and he played the tracks, and he called me up and said, and they would send me the tracks, and he'd say, how's that sound? How's that sound? And I said, sounds great, Dennis.
Yeah, thank you.
And also Ben Porowski, who I also played with Mike Stern,
yes.
Did a lot of touring with. My partner in crime on Funkifying the Clave, Robby Ameen, my boy, and Mark Walker, right, who I played with Paquita de Rivera and Dave Samuels and some other people like that. And they all contributed in different tunes from different genres. I sort of selected, who I wanted to play on certain tracks.
Yeah, you're like David Lynch, Stanley Kubrick.
Right, and in some cases I did, with Robby, we did it together. In some cases I had them put the track on, and I would add additional tracks to enhance what they had done. Mm-hmm. I had the privilege of doing that because of, doing things in the studio at home.
Right.
So that was a good thing.
Absolutely, and I'm absolutely honored and pumped that you asked me to be on Liberty City, one of Jaco Pastoris's great songs.
Right.
So thank you.
Mike takes a great solo. He had some beautiful comping and some other atmospheric stuff on top. And he was actually the one who suggested that I use Adam Nussbaum to do like an interpretation / rap tribute to Jaco.
Yes.
Because he had played with Jaco.
Yes,
So I
exactly.
said, Adam, can you rap over this track? And he was like, Adam. He's like Adam Nussbaum. He's like Elvin Jones meets Jackie Mason, He's the one and only. And so he rapped into his phone, and I cut and pasted all the pertinent parts that I thought would work. And that was actually a lot of work to put that track together. It was sort of like a party track.
Mm-hmm.
you know, and I didn't want to mess up the orchestration that Klaus Mueller had helped me with. And also I didn't want to mess up, obviously, Shredmaster Bendy's solo. God forbid. You know, it was beautiful what you did with the comping and everything like that. It was adventurous, but I'm pretty happy with the way that it turned out. I'm pretty happy with the way all the tunes turned out, actually.
Yeah, because I was calling you and texting you. I was like, what about Nussbaum? Could we get him on there? I know you played with Jocko, that 55 bar. And
Robby Ameen too. It's like, you know, my partner in crime with the Funkifying the Clavier. It's like, kind of like, you know, he's an animal you just let out of the cage and you just played whatever you wanted to over the tracks, but somehow it ends up working out.
Yeah, he's on drums.
Very
on the
creative.
Track that I'm on. Yeah.
He's on the track. He's on that track. He's on a couple of other tracks too. He's on an original track that I did, Spin the Floor. He's on that track. He also plays on, you know, I'm gonna have to look at the record, figure out who plays on what. Some of the tracks don't have drums on it. Some of the tracks are open, which was interesting too.
This is Mike Bendy signing off with my man Lincoln Goines. Make sure to check out the new album on Spotify, on Apple Music, on Bandcamp.
Coming out on Origin Records.
Or you can purchase an autographed copy from Lincoln himself.
Right, from my website, lincolngoines.com, coming out on Origin Records. The official release date is October 21st, 2022.
Thank you so much for checking out our video. We'll see you soon. Thank you so much. We love you.
We love you. Thanks.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
My man right here. Peace.
Peace. Okay, so I'm going to introduce my band, my bass choir band for the day. Three of the greatest people I know, actually. On bass number 4, on the bottom, we have one of the founding fathers of the company, Joey Lauricella. And let me tell you something, this guy has forgotten more tunes than most of us are ever going to know. Right? For sure, for sure. That's, yeah. And Shredmaster Bendy over here.
Coming to you.
Coming, right? And my friend, Ksenia Vasileva, I never call her that, I call her the Cookie. She's also another former student of mine who's now a terrifying bass player in her own right, just like Shredmaster Bendy. And she also taught me how to say stolichnaya, right? Accent on the second syllable, right?
I used to drink that.
Right, yeah, well, now we play bass. So let's get it on. We're gonna play Hang Up Your Hang-Ups, Herbie Hancock. My tribute to my peripheral big brother in Oakland, Paul Jackson. We're gonna play 4 of his bass lines at once, and it actually is gonna sound pretty good, I think. Here we go.
Thank you.